Hi there and welcome to the disease videos topic. The disease topic is a pretty small topic but does link into environmental factors, which is the next video that's going to be covered. Okay, let's get started. You've probably heard of something called pathogens from GCSE, and you probably know them as disease-causing microorganisms. Now this is true for the most part, but it's just that at AS level you've got to expand this idea. So there's three types of pathogens which are actually shown on screen. They're bacteria, viruses and fungi. Now the way you can identify these from pictures is a virus, basically, if you have a diagram rather than an image, there's a good chance it's a virus. Not always, sometimes you get diagrams of cells, but this is definitely a virus, and you can tell it because it's not round. Cells or bacterial cells, if you have them as a diagram, will often look like that, and you'll have a nucleus and a few labels. Anyway, yeah, so this one here, whoops, is a virus. Okay, now the one at the top left hand side corner, that is a bacteria, because if you've ever seen them on TV adverts, you sometimes see them, it looks exactly like that, but they're multiplying. That's bacteria. And then obviously by a process of elimination, this is fungi. Fungi are just lots of strands all joined together, and that's it. That's how you identify them. So let's go ahead and write this in here. So back, fung, looks like fanny, and that's a virus. Now viruses are much smaller than any of those. They're tiny. They're actually microscopic. You can't actually see them with the microscope. You can see bacteria and fungi, but you can't see viruses. You would need an electron microscope for that. So let's carry on. A lot of people actually forget about fungi, as generally you don't really get a fungi as much as you do viruses and bacteria. Everyone has had a virus. Everyone's had a bacterial infection. Not everyone's had a fungus at some point in their life, but you'll see. So an example of a bacterial infection that you'll probably have heard of will be tuberculosis, which is a disease of the lungs, which if goes untreated will kill you. An example of a virus would be AIDS, which causes HIV, which will also kill you. And an example of a fungi, which is really hard to pronounce, you'd see how this is spelt, is pneumocystis, which you probably won't have heard of, again because fungus infections simply aren't as common as bacterial infections. And the fungi infections can cause things like pneumonia, and as a result, death. So all three pathogens are basically very dangerous. Now some people don't really think that there's a difference, because if it's a disease it makes you ill and that's the end of it. But be very clear about this. There are three different types of organisms which cause you to be ill. Now, luckily, you don't just acquire pathogens. They don't just, pop out at you in the middle of the night. They have to enter you before they can make you ill. Now, they don't just appear in your body and next thing you know you're dying in bed with man flu. For you to become infected with a pathogen, the pathogen has to get inside your body. Now, as your skin is waterproof, pathogens can't just move into you. They have to enter your body through what's called an interface. Now this is something you will need to know, as there's a good chance that when the exam comes you'll be asked to name interfaces. So an interface is just a way for pathogens to enter your body. So one interface is your eyes, your ears, why am I underlining this, your lungs, your gut, which is your intestines, genitals, pleasant, right? Wounds, right. Now from these you can kind of see how these would happen. Now let's say for example you touch something with bacterium on, and then you have an itchy eye, so you wipe your eye, so the bacteria will enter your eye and move into your bloodstream. That's it, interface crossed. The next one is your ears. When you have an ear infection, that's just bacteria that have moved into your ear, probably by diffusion or movement of air, and you now have an ear infection. Lungs are a little bit more complicated. Now, do not think that an interface is your mouth. Your mouth is not an interface, because although it is, you know, the bacteria, once it's in your mouth and you've swallowed it, technically it's inside you, but it's not in your bloodstream. Now, for bacteria or pathogens to take effect, they have to be in your bloodstream, or actually inside your cells. So obviously, being in your digestive system, it's not going to be inside your cells. But once it's in your lungs, you'll do about this when you do respiration, but air or oxygen actually moves through a structure called an alveoli, which is incredibly, incredibly thin. It's only 1 cell thick. Now, what pathogens can do is they can move with that oxygen through the alveoli and into your bloodstream, and then that's it. They've crossed the interface. So that's how lungs is an interface. So the next one is your gut, which is your small intestines, because obviously it passes through you, but inside your stomach and inside your intestines, they can't really do much damage, just because they're not inside you really. They're moving through you, if you like. So they can pass through your intestines and into your blood. And then again, you've got it again. Genitals, I don't even have to explain that one. Obviously, when you have intercourse, you can spread bacteria, which can then pass into your blood. And then wounds, where there is no longer a barrier. The bacteria can go straight through your skin, and that's it, you're infected. So, so far I've said that an interface is the link between pathogens making you ill. When it comes to an exam, you need to say that an interface is, and this is the definition, the boundary between one system and another. So to explain this a little more, outside the body is one system, and inside the body is another. And that's just it. The definition is, an interface is the boundary between one system and another. So if you're asked to explain what, or asked to define a interface, there's your answer. So, this is the next part, is how interfaces can work. So we've already gone through how these interfaces work. There are certain ways that we have to use of defining whether or not something should be classed as, you know, a bacterium or not. Now, one of the biggest problems for biologists was finding out if someone's ill, how do you know what's making them ill? You could take a sample from them, and no, honestly, at any point, you've got hundreds of bacteria, probably thousands, inside your blood, but they're in such low concentrations they do no damage, and your immune system is constantly dealing with them. So they're dealt with really, really well. But what biologists have to do to find out how to treat you is find out what organism is making you ill. Now, to do this, there's something called cause postulates. I'll just write that down. It's Koch's postulate. It's K. Whoops. It's K-O-S. Nope. K-O-C-H. What am I doing? S-H. Now, these are very, very simple. It literally goes, the microorganism must be found in everyone who has the disease. Okay? It then has to be extracted and grown in culture. It then has to be transferred into another healthy organism. Now, there's a reason I said organism and not human. And then it has to be extracted again. Now, this is how you can tell if a bacterium is causing, you know, the problem. So let's say, for example, I have some new kind of virus or bacteria that turns my eyes orange. If they find, and there's 10 other people with the same effect, and let's say they take blood from all of us, and they find the same bacterium in all of us, and in nobody else. So they would then extract that bacteria, grow it in culture. They would then put it into an experimental mammal, and if it had the same effect, they would then try and extract the bacteria again, just to prove that it was that bacteria causing it. And then that's how you would identify whether or not that bacteria caused the disease. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But that can be done to plants as well. So if something makes a plant ill, the exact same thing can be done to plants. Now, the next topic we're going to look at is how bacteria actually can make you ill, because they don't just get inside your body and hey presto, man flu, playing Xbox all night. Something actually has to happen. Now, there's two ways in which pathogens can make you ill. Firstly, they cause damage to host tissues. So when you have an infection in your throat, that's the bacteria destroying the tissue at the back of the throat and causing pain. Another way in which they can cause problems is the toxins they release. Just by existing in your body, they produce a problem, because the waste they produce is toxic. Now, it's a little gross to imagine, but you produce waste, and so do bacteria, and it's essentially their waste that makes you feel like spending all day in bed asleep, or spending all day in bed playing Xbox, having the half weight on your hand and foot. So I'm going to put toxins for that one. I've never done that. Cross my heart, hope to die. Right then, there's one last thing that you really need to know, and then we're pretty much done with pathogens except for one thing. All pathogens are alive except one. Viruses aren't alive. Now, this may be a bit hard to imagine, but if we go back here and we actually take a look at this virus, let's see if I can get this a little bit bigger. Okay, that doesn't want to work, it seems. One more go. Just a little bit bigger. Now this is a label diagram, and you can see no nucleus, there's no DNA, it's not alive. This structure is a very complicated protein, and that's all a virus is. A virus just gets inside your cells and multiplies, and it is the bursting of cells that causes you to be ill. So HIV, for example, destroys your immune system by attacking the cells that basically make up your immune system, by going inside them and bursting them. And that's pretty much it. Now there's one more thing you need to know, and it's the absolute last thing. It is the treatment of bacteria and viruses. They're not treated with the same thing. If you give someone with a cold antibiotics, it'll do nothing, because it's not a virus. Not a bacteria, sorry. So bacteria and viruses. Bacteria are treated with antibiotics, and viruses are treated with antivirals. Now obviously anti, you can put this into here, anti is the same in both. Bio, so biotics, bacteria, virals, viruses. And that's everything you need to know about pathogens, how they enter your body. Remember the key definitions throughout this video, which are interface, system, bacteria, virus, fungi, antibiotics, antivirals, and all the different examples of interfaces. And you'll be golden in your exams. The questions should be somewhere on the website saying questions. Have a go at them. If you don't quite get it all right, just go ahead and give this video a watch and try taking some notes while the video is going through. If you want to, you can even watch the parts you're a bit unsure of, pause it, and then try and answer a few questions. Thank you for watching again, and we hope to see you soon.